does he have confidence that his ministers are ethical and competent?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, yes.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David
To the Prime Minister, can he assure the public that the Honourable Nick Smith, Peter Dunn and John Banks all upheld to his satisfaction the requirements of the Cabinet Manual that, quote, ministers are expected to act lawfully and to behave in a way that upholds and is seen to uphold the highest ethical standards?
Order. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
This is going to come as a great revelation to the member, but John Banks is no longer a minister.
Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
In light of that answer, Mr. Speaker, and given that John Banks has conveniently forgotten helicopter rides, 7-foot-tall German billionaires and the concurrent arrival of 2 cheques for $25,000, how is it credible for the Prime Minister to even consider reappointing him to a ministerial role as he said he would do yesterday?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it strikes me the member keeps forgetting what he tells private audiences he's in.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. I have a point of order that first raised by Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that the question had an introductory part to it, but the Prime Minister should make some attempt to address it.
Honourable Jerry Brownlee speaking to the point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I think that question would fall into the category that you've often mentioned. Your predecessors in that seat have often mentioned very heavily loaded political questions. What the Prime Minister did was refer to the first part of that question and I think adequately addressed it.
And on this occasion, I'm going to accept the advice given by the Honourable Jerry Brownlee. The question was very politically loaded. When members ask a supplementary question like that, they give a fair amount of licence to a Minister or Prime Minister to answer. Supplementary question, Honourable David Cunliffe.
Given that the Prime Minister said yesterday that he would reinstate John Banks, but would only possibly reinstate the Honourable Peter Dunn, can he tell the House why his confidence in the Honourable Peter Dunn is lower than in the Honourable John Banks?
Mr. Speaker,
right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have no ministerial responsibility for that.
He said it! But he said it!
Speaker.
Point of order. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister does have responsibility for statements that he made, and he was being asked to reconcile 2 of those statements. That's a perfectly acceptable question.
And on this occasion, I accept the advice of the member, Grant Robertson. I'm going to ask the Honourable David Cunliffe to re-ask that question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister, given that he said yesterday that he would reinstate John Banks, but would only possibly reinstate the Honourable Peter Dunn, can he tell the House why his confidence in the Honourable Peter Dunn is lower?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's not.
Question. Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Does he believe Nick Smith simply forgot about being briefed on the Ruataniwha Dam before 29 July, the first 8 times he was asked about it in the House, even though the dam submission had been mentioned 3 times previously in the Minister's weekly reports?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that you are yet to make a ruling on the privileges complaint in relation to this matter and do not believe it's appropriate to discuss the matter until you've done so.
Speaker.
Order. Supplementary question, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, does he think it's appropriate for the Minister of Conservation to interfere in a departmental decision and to stop the department from raising legitimate concerns about water quality to the Ruataniwha Dam Board of Inquiry?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think Doris Johnson made it quite clear that the Minister didn't.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. No. So I apologise. I have a point of order from the right honourable.
Mr. Speaker, I delayed raising this point of order because I thought it would be obvious to you when Mr. Key said that a matter was before you for a privilege decision. He acted as though you were some fine judicial court and the matter was sub judice. It would appear very apparent to you you are not, and the issue is not, so you should not have been able to get away with that.
I'm not sure exactly what the point of order is. Maybe the honourable Jerry Brownlee can help me.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. This is a point of order, and it will be heard in silence.
It was perfectly reasonable in the answer, Mr. Speaker, for the Prime Minister to acknowledge the letter to you from the Honourable David Cunliffe relating to the matter of privilege and suggesting that it would be inappropriate to make any prejudicial comments when it is in your hands. I think that's perfectly acceptable.
And I accept that, and I agree entirely. The Honourable David Cunliffe has
Supplementary to the Prime Minister. Given the sorry litany of ministerial failures and the fact that his ragtag government is hanging by a thread, is his plan C to inflate crazy Conservative Colin Craig, or is he just a mad hatter looking for a new tea party?
Right Honourable Prime Minister, insofar as he has Prime Ministerial responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry that the member can't count, but we actually have 64 votes, so we're not hanging by a thread. If he wants to get into crazy, he could look at his own coalition partners, but actually he doesn't need to look too far. He should just follow the advice of Trevor Mallard, who nicely summed up exactly what he thought of Materia Ture last night.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
How could the Prime Minister be contemplating restoring to a ministerial post someone who leaked from the GCSB 4 separate times and a 5th time with respect to IRD and NovaPay? How could that person possibly be?
Order!
The difference is I didn't lie to the House like you did.
Order! Order! And that's a very good example of the unhelpful nature of an interjection, but then the response from the Right Honourable Winston Peters was out of order. Would the member now rise to his feet and simply ask his supplementary question?
I'd be very grateful to. How is the Prime Minister possibly contemplating restoring to Cabinet post someone who leaked 4 separate times with respect to the GCSB and a 5th time with respect to IRD and NovaPay? How could that person possibly fit the high standards that he has hitherto claimed to uphold?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, firstly, the premise of the question is wrong. It's unproven in terms of the first point. And the second point, if he wants to talk reinstatement, maybe he should talk to Brendan Horan. I understand he might have been sacked at the time.
Order. That's not helpful to the order of the House.